ओम अज्ञानम तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाजनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सागरं रघुनाथं तं सजीवं साधवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्ण पदां सागरं ललिता श्रीसततं च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवाद तारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपे कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुत देवी प्रणामे हरि प्रिय वांचा कल्पतरुभ्य सचा कृपा सिंधु वच पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। यहाँ से स्टार्ट कर।
Yes, plate 4. Hare Krishna. Since a human being is a rational animal, he is born to make inquiries. But the most relevant inquiries, those made by the truly intelligent man, deal with what happens at the time of death. This scene from the great Vedic history, Srimad Bhagavatam, shows King Parikshit placing such inquiries before his spiritual master Sukadeva Goswami. A young Brahmin boy had cursed King Parikshit, who ruled the entire world 5,000 years ago, to meet death from a serpent's bite within 7 days. Upon learning of the curse, the king at once left his palatial home and went to the bank of the Ganges to fast until death. All the great sages assembled there, and at last Sukadeva Goswami, one of the most exalted spiritualists of the time, arrived. King Parikshit offered Sukadeva Goswami the principal seat of esteem and then spoke to him as follows. My dear sir, you are the greatest of the great transcendentalists, and therefore I submissively beg to ask you about my duties at this critical hour. I am just on the verge of death. Please tell me, my lord, what should I hear? What should I worship? And whom should I remember now?
Yes, plate 5. Dashutta Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
5,000 years ago, on the sacred field of Kurukshetra in India, the greatest battle in history was about to take place. On one side stood the legions of Arjuna, the most valiant warrior of his day and the personal friend of Lord Sri Krishna. Opposite them stood the vast military array of Dhritarashtra, a usurper, a usurper of the throne and the father of the evil Duryodhan. When Arjuna asked Krishna to draw his chariot between the two armies, among his enemies were close to among his armies fought, Arjuna saw struck him with grief and paralyzed his will to fight. Among his enemies were close friends, relatives, and teachers. Bemoaning his condition, Arjuna addressed his friend and charioteer, my dear Krishna, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all the composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is the best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Then Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita for Arjuna's enlightenment.
Plate 6. 500 years ago, Lord Krishna appeared in his most merciful incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During his manifest existence on the earth, Lord Chaitanya transformed the face of India in 4 respects. Philosophically, by encountering, defeating, and converting the greatest philosophers of his day; religiously, by organizing the largest, most widespread theist theistic movement in India's history, socially by strong challenges against the religious inequalities of the caste system, and politically by its organization of a massive civil disobedience movement in Bengal, India, 450 years before Gandhi. Lord Chaitanya's chief weapon in his effort to convert the Indian masses to the path of Krishna Bhakti, devotional service to Lord Krishna, was Sankirtana. The congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Here, before thousands of his followers, we see Lord Chaitanya performing Sankirtana with his closest associates, including Shri Nityananda Prabhu, clad in blue, who is an incarnation of the Lord Balaram. Lord Chaitanya himself summed up the glories of Harinam Sankirtan, the first of his 8 instructions of the holy name. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, which can be cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. The chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is a waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education and expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives a cooling effect to everyone and enables everyone to taste full nectar at every step. Yes, Prabhuji. Grade 7. Yes, Ashwini Prabhuji.
Yes, मुझे मुझे दिख नहीं रहा, मेरे को थोड़ा सा और डाउन करें. Yeah, plate 7. Real meditation means to achieve a state in which the mind is saturated with God consciousness. The easiest process of meditation in this age is to chant the holy name of the Lord. But in past ages, as we see here, the process was silent meditation then. The Vedic scriptures describe this mystic yoga process as follows. First, one should go to a secluded sacred place, lay kusha grass on the ground, and then cover it with a deer skin or soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high or too low. Then one should sit on it very firmly and practice yoga while controlling the senses and breathing, purifying the heart and fixing the mind on one point. One should hold his body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon the form of the Lord Vishnu within the heart. Lord Vishnu is eternally very beautiful, ever youthful, and always eager to bestow his blessings upon those who meditate on him and serve him. One should therefore meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed. Then, by the Lord's causeless mercy, he will manifest before one's purified vision.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry, yes, Prabhuji. Modern scientists guess that the universe was created by an exploding chunk, a mass of gas or mass or some other inanimate source. But from the Vedas, a reservoir of infallible knowledge, we learn of the real source of creation, Lord Krishna. Here we see Lord Krishna, partially expansion Mahavishnu, lying in the causal ocean. While he lives in that ocean, millions of universes are generated as he exhales. A second expansion, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters all the universe to create diversity in each of them. From the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu springs the stem of a lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigod engineers. It is the Lord Brahma who creates each universe, using his fine intelligence to manipulate the gross elements supplied by Krishna and his expansion.
Okay, Swati Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna. 9. In search of the original cause of everything, cause of all causes, modern scientists have delved deeply into the atom and found electrons, protons, pi mesons, and many other particles, but they have failed to find the ultimate subatomic particle, the supersoul, an expansion of Lord Krishna. Because they know nothing of the spiritual science of Bhakti Yoga, by entering into every atom and into the heart of every being. The super soul pervades, sustains, and controls the entire material creation. From the super soul comes all knowledge, remembrance, and even consciousness itself. But because the atheistic scientists can never receive his mercy, they cannot perceive him. And thus, for them, the mystery of creation will remain.
Hmm. Plate 10. The goal of human life is to enter into a transcendental loving relationship with the Lord Krishna, and here we see the epitome of such love. The Supreme Lord Krishna and his eternal consort Radha, his personified pleasure potency, meet at night in the lush forest of Vrindavan. Here everything is meant to enhance their enjoyment. Peacock dance before them, gentle breezes carry the fragrance of lotus, jasmine, and malika, and the full moon shining above the Yamuna shed the soft illumination throughout the forest. Despite appearances, we should never think that the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan are like the lusty affairs of the young boys and girls in this material world. No trace of lust mars their relationship, for it is based simply on the concern of each other's happiness. She Radha expressed the perfection of this selfless, loving mood. Krishna is my life and soul. Krishna, the treasure of my life. Indeed, Krishna is the very life of my life. I therefore keep him always in my heart and try to please him by rendering service. Imbued with this pure sentiment, Radha gives herself in the charity to the lotus feet of Krishna, who accepts her as his loved one and calls her his most beloved. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. His guess Ashwini Prabhuji.
हाँ 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 दिख रहा है प्लेट 11 when Krishna walked this earth 5,000 years ago, all the residents of Vrindavan showed the perfect way to love him. Indeed, they knew nothing but Krishna. The milkmaids, gopis, especially felt great bliss when they saw Krishna and his brother Balram entering the Vrindavan forest in the morning. One gopi would say to another, "My dear friend, how is it Krishna and Balram are looking so beautiful this morning? They just look like two actors going to play on a stage." I think those who see the beautiful faces of Krishna Balram are certainly fortunate, as these two sons of King Nand enter the forest surrounded by their friends and driving the cows before them. They glance lovingly upon us and the other residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object of vision. But then, fearing Krishna's imminent absence, one gopi would say, "Oh Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hair, half a second seems as long as entire age for us. Dear Krishna, our life rests only in you, so we are filled with anxiety to think that sharp stones might injure your tender feet as you roam about on the footpath."
Okay. Yes, Prabhuji.
Appreciation of Srila Prabhupada's work. Over the years, many people have expressed their appreciation for Srila Prabhupada's work, bringing India's timeless science of self-realization to the West.
Yes, Prabhuji. Please continue, Prabhuji. Yes.
His divine grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is doing valuable work, and his book are significant contributions to the salvation of mankind. Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri, former Prime Minister of India, Swami Bhaktivedanta brings to the West a salutary reminder that our highly activistic and one-sided culture is faced with a crisis that may end in self-destruction because it lacks the inner depth of an authentic metaphysical consciousness. Without such depth, our moral and political protestations are just so much verbiage. Thomas Merton, theologian.
Okay. Uh, Swati Mataji.
In the diversity of religious approaches offered by the yogis of India, the most significant of course is the way of Krishna consciousness, shown by Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami, 10th teacher in the tradition of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya. is amazing to see how Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami has in less than 10 years succeeded by his personal devotion and single-minded dedication to the task, untiring energy and efficient direction in organizing the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, having thousands of devotees, opening the Radha Krishna temples in the major cities of the world, and writing numerous works on the Bhakti Yoga as taught by Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya. Professor Mahesh Mehta, Professor of Asian Studies, University of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. आगे पढ़ूं क्या?
हाँ जी माता जी, ये भी लास्ट वाला।
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is a prestigious master and heir to a great tradition. Joseph Jean Lenzo del Vasto, prominent French philosopher and author.
Words fail me to describe the height of scholarship and devotion manifest in Srila Prabhupada's vast writings. Our future generations will definitely find a better world to live in through the efforts of Srila Prabhupada. He stands for international brotherhood and the spiritual integration of all mankind. The literary world outside India, particularly of the West, is indebted to Srila Prabhupada, who has so scientifically acquainted them with what is the best in Krishna conscious India. Shri Vishwanath Shukla, PhD, Professor of Hindi, Muslim, MU Aligarh, Muslim University Aligarh, UP, India. Yes, प्रभु जी.
इसमें शायद इसमें AMU नहीं लिखा ना, उससे मैं सोचा ये MU अलीगढ़ क्या है. Okay, as a native of India, now living in the West, it has given me much grief to see so many of my fellow countrymen coming to the West in the role of gurus and spiritual leaders. Just as an ordinary man in the West becomes conscious of Christian culture from his very birth, any ordinary man in India becomes familiar with the principles of meditation and yoga from his very birth. Unfortunately, many unscrupulous persons come from India, exhibit their imperfect and ordinary knowledge of yoga, cheat the people with their wares consisting of mantras, and present themselves as incarnations of God. So many of these cheaters have come convincing their foolish followers to accept them as God, that those who are actually well versed and learned in Indian culture have become very concerned and troubled. For this reason, I am very excited to see the publications of Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. They will help to stop the terrible cheating of false and unauthorized gurus and yogis, and will give an opportunity to all people to understand the actual meaning of Oriental culture. Dr. Kailash Vajpayee, Director of Indian Studies, Center for Oriental Studies, the University of Mexico.
Yes, yes. Prabhuji, he's good, Shraddha Prabhuji.
Sorry. The books of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada are not only beautiful but also relevant to our time, as we as a nation search for new culture patterns for our way of life. Dr. Srila Prabhupada, Professor of Sociology, at Boston State University.
Yes. Swati Mataji.
It is a great honor for me to have the pleasure of examining the publications of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which I find to be of exceptional value for use in educational institutions and libraries. I particularly recommend the ancient classic Srimad Bhagavatam to all students and professors of Indian philosophy and culture. The learned author, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, is a world-renowned saint and savant in the field of Vedic philosophy and its practical application in the modern world. He has established over 100 spiritual ashrams for the study and cultivation of Vedic knowledge throughout the world. Factually, he is unequaled in his efforts to establish the Vedic way of life, Sanatan Dharma, in all countries of the world. Certainly, I am most grateful that this message of the Bhagavata is being spread for the benefit of the world by such a qualified personality as Swami Bhaktivedanta. Dr. R. Kalia, President, Indian Library Association.
Yes. Swami Bhaktivedanta has offered to devotees of God a blessed service with his English translations and commentaries. The universal application of these truths is shown to be a promised blessings in in the times of challenge when light is illumining darkness. Truly, this is a wholly inspired writing of all aspiring souls seeking the why, whence, and whither of life. Dr. Judith M. Tyberg, founder and director, East West Cultural Center, Los Angeles, California. Yes, Prabhuji. His session, Prabhuji.
Sorry, मैं mute पे बोल रहा था. As a successor and direct line from Chaitanya, the author is entitled according to Indian custom to the majestic title of His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Swami Prabhupada possesses total mystery of the Sanskrit language. The great interest that his reading of Bhagavad Gita holds for us is that it offers us an authorized interpretation according to the principles of Chaitanya tradition. This appreciation, coming from a Christian philosopher and Indologist, is a gesture of sincere friendship. Olivier Lacombe, Professor Honorary, Université de Paris, Sorbonne, former Director, Institute of Indian Civilization, Paris.
I have read Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami books with great care, attention, and profound interest. Have found them to be incalculable value to anyone who is curious about India's spiritual and cultural heritage. The author of these books displays on every page as astounding scholarship in the subject treated, and also an understanding and ease of exposition of abstruse ideas, which are rarest gifts of a man who has been rigorously brought up in the schools of Vaishnava philosophy and has absorbed its teachings so fully that he seems to have reached the highest state of spiritual illumination. Only few blessed souls achieve. Dr. H. B. Kulkarni, Professor of English and Philosophy, Utah State University, Logan, Utah.
Undoubtedly, the work of Swamiji is a great contribution to the troubled human society of today's world. Dr. Sudha L. Bhatt, Professor of Indian Languages, Boston University, Boston, Massachusetts. The appearance of an English translation of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is a cause for celebration among both scholars in Indian studies and lay people seeking to enrich their knowledge of Indian spirituality.
Mataji, पूरा complete.
Hanji. Anyone who gives a close reading to the commentary will sense that here, as in his other works, Sri Bhaktivedanta has combined a healthy mixture of the fervent devotion and aesthetic sensitivity of a devotee and the intellectual rigor of a textual scholar. These exquisitely wrote volumes will be a welcome addition to the libraries of all persons who are committed to the study of Indian spirituality and religious literature, whether their interests are sparked by the motivations of the scholar, the devotee, or the general reader. Dr. J. Bruce Long, Department of Asian Studies, Cornell University.
Okay, so we can stop here. And start with the discussion or the realizations. Yes, Dashapta Prabhuji, you want to say something?
Prabhuji, I like few points like where Prabhupada, where some other person glorify Prabhupada about his scholar and मतलब प्रभुपाद जी के एफर्ट्स के बारे में वो बता रहे थे कि कैसे इन्होंने मतलब इतने एफर्ट्स डाल करके उन्होंने इतनी इंटेलेक्चुअल बुक्स लिखी हैं और इंडियन फिलोसफी को हाईलाइट किया है और इट्स अ ग्रेट एफर्ट बता रहे थे एंड कुछ जैसे प्लेट जो पोस्टर्स हम देख रहे थे तो उसमें एक पोस्टर था कि जहाँ पे जो गोपियां हैं वो बता दी हैं कि हाँ मतलब वो उनको दुख होता है कि भगवान नंगे पैर गाय को चराने के लिए जाते हैं। तो या दैट वाज द पॉइंट आई लाइक द मोस्ट, कि गोपियां इस बात से भी चिंतित हैं कि भगवान के पैरों में कांटे ना लग जाएं, और मतलब इस तरह का उनका भाव है फॉर द लॉर्ड। यस प्रभु जी, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Saraswati Mataji, you want to add something?
Nothing much as such, but yeah, it is good to read about the appreciations that others have giving about Prabhupada writing. So, and one point which I read when I joined, तो उसमें था कि जब Prabhupada was I mean we were reading that the scientists have discovered these atoms, subatoms or subparticles, but they are not aware about the super soul. तो वो चीज भी वो नहीं कर सकते जब तक they will not get the mercy of the Lord. So जब मर्सी उनके पास मिलेगी नहीं, तो ये चीजें, ये सुपर सोल के बारे में they cannot talk about. तो वो पॉइंट अच्छा लगा था मुझे. Yeah, that's it from my end.
और मतलब अगर एटम, प्रभुपाद जो पता है कि एटम, इलेक्ट्रॉन तो ये पता कर ही लिए ये लोग, बट सब एटम नहीं पता करे। वैसे ही जो नॉन मैटर थिंग्स हैं, जैसे एटम तो एक मैटर हो गया कि भाई ये एटम एक मैटर है, फिर इलेक्ट्रॉन का ही बोल रहे हैं नहीं इतना इतना मास होता है, इतना साइज है। बट नॉन एटम जो है, जैसे बोलते हैं कि ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स, जो गुरुत्वाकर्षण शक्ति जैसे बोलते हैं, तो कहें कि कोई चीज क्यों गिर रही है, बोले कि गुरुत्वाकर्षण शक्ति ऐसे गिर रही है, ठीक है, पर शक्ति के पीछे के शक्तिवान का पता नहीं है। बस ये बोल रहे कि अर्थ के अंदर एक गुरुत्वाकर्षण शक्ति है, तो फिर आई कहाँ से? जब शक्ति है तो फिर शक्तिमान भी होना चाहिए। इस तरह से मतलब वो इनकम्प्लीट है अभी, शक्तिवान का पता ना होने की वजह से नॉलेज जितने भी साइंस के माध्यम से आती है वो पूरा इनकम्प्लीट है।
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone wants to add?
हम ये भी देखते हैं कि जैसे परीक्षित महाराज जो है वो एक हफ्ते के अंदर, उसके बाद फिर वो मतलब उस समय फिर वो खड़े होते हैं, फिर सुखदेव गोस्वामी आते हैं, देन दे हैव दी कृष्णा कॉन्शियस डायलॉग फॉर लाइक 7 days. तो in our spiritual life also we should be a perfect disciple, and by Prabhupada's grace we have a perfect spiritual master or guide or mentor, counselor. So in the mood of Maharaj Parikshit, we should understand that we can die anytime, and then we should become serious in doing our sadhana, and we should take guidance from those who are mentoring us, counseling us. They may not be the perfect, but the message is perfect. So in that mood, we should continue in our devotion service.
Yes, that's true. One more thing, जैसे मैं परीक्षित महाराज को बताते हैं कि वो 7 दिन में मरने वाले थे, तो वो फिर भागवतम सुनने गए, तो वो हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि हम भी हर क्षण ही मर रहे हैं। तो एक 7 दिन का तो वहाँ पे कॉन्सेप्ट था, लेकिन अब हमें भी समझना पड़ेगा, मतलब मुझे भी समझना पड़ेगा कि मैं हर क्षण मर रहा हूँ। तो मेरी सिचुएशन, मतलब जो परीक्षित महाराज कर रहे हैं अंत में, समय के अंत में, तो उसे उसी सीरियसनेस के साथ अभी से ही स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा। बिकॉज परीक्षित महाराज को एटलीस्ट पता था कि 7 दिन बाद जाना है, तो हमें तो ये भी नहीं पता कब निकल जाए। तो हमारे तो हर दिन ऐसा होना चाहिए कि मतलब कि डिवोशन सर्विस हम बहुत सीरियस लेवल पे करें, so that we can cross this ocean of the science. Yes, please. That's all from my side. Can we stop, Truji?
Yeah.
Vancha kalpatarubha sacha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo नमः। जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण। थैंक यू।
सभी से एक रिक्वेस्ट था कि सब लोग टाइम पे आए, उदित प्रभु आज काफी वेट करते रहे थे, तो सब लोग प्लीज टाइम से ही ज्वाइन करें 7 o'clock। तो वरना वो फिर अकेले वेट करते हैं ब्रिज मीटिंग, तो we will be serious from going forward. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining everyone. Hare Krishna.